What's up, Raiders? Bionic here. Welcome to the Raid Shadow Legends video where we are not on my account, at least not yet, because I want to quickly remind you guys that I'm giving this one away tonight on Twitch. So do join me for the stream. It has some pretty fancy legendaries on here. It's basically end game. It has speed runs for basically all the dungeons, alright? So if you want to win this with loyalty points or use loyalty points to win this account, I do that on Twitch right now. Same for the gem giveaway, which we're going to have on Sunday night. All right, so show up tonight even if you do not want that account, because you're going to start accumulating even more loyalty points. Also, I will quickly remind you guys that I started playing another game, which I have a promo code for you guys. It is called Summoner's Glory Eternal Fire. If you enter the promo code BGE during your character creation, you're going to get free in-game loot. And I also have a guild going which you can apply for. It is called Bionic. Pretty simple. All that being said, let's jump into today's video, which is going to be my clan boss roster. So as requested, here is my clan boss team, or at least part of it. I'm going to cover the roster in a second, but first I want to set this up for you guys to show sort of what it looks like on the Spirit Affinity, because this is the most complicated one for my roster. I also briefly touched on this in the previous video. I try to keep my roster as simple as possible. I only have 6 champions which I use on a rotation. Actually, that's not true. It should be basically all 7 of them, okay? Because I do use the Martyr, but mainly for the Spirit Affinity, as you just saw. All right, so let's jump into this right here, and then we're going to go over all the other affinities and the gear of all of these champions. I'm also probably going to stop this, edit it, because it's probably going to take a little bit too much time for this run to complete, okay? So the Spirit Affinity for my team is kind of complicated because I have 2 Force champions. My Cleanser is basically the wrong affinity, so he would be targeted first, but I also put the Skull Crusher in there to take that hit instead of the Battle Khazar until he becomes a little bit too low health, right? So the first part, as you saw, I take the hit first, right? Because I'm not tuned for Ultra Nightmare. I am still slow tuned for Nightmare. The goal here is to have a 1-key Nightmare and a 3-key Ultra Nightmare, and I just reach sort of that damage with my Spirit team as well, which is this one right here, okay? So then I'm gonna burn like I'm not gonna use, sorry, the A2 from Battle Khazar, because we have to wait for the decreased speed. So in this case, what I'm gonna do is I do have 2 counterattacks. It doesn't change anything. You're not getting more counterattacks, but I'm just setting up the counterattack right now because I'm gonna take a second hit. Might as well get an extra hit from all my champions right now. But then as we fall in line, the Martyr is gonna be the one to maintain the correct counterattack buff at the right time. The Skull Crusher is going to fall out of sync because he's going to be taking the stuns, and I'm not going to cleanse the stun. Okay, so for this part right here, then what we do with the Padma is that we do the appropriate skill. We grab that increased attack, which we are going to deal a little bit more damage. I currently don't have the rosin in there, which is usually also there to remove that increased attack from the boss, right? Here we're going to use the Curse Eater, which is booked, so it's on a 3-turn cooldown, because on the next rotation, Battle Khazar will be cleansing the debuffs. So as this keeps going along, then the Occult Brawler will be loading up on about 3 debuffs every time before he uses the Curse Eater. So this is just a way to keep this in sync, so he deals hopefully a little bit more damage. Here we're not going to do the counter attack from the Martyr. Then we're going to take an AoE hit right there. We are going to counter attack on that one, and now we have the decreased speed, and this has been the big problem for this team. Even this one tick of the turn meter with the decreased speed was enough to make my champions fall out of sync after, like, I don't know, maybe 9 turns or so, right? But by increasing the speed of Battle Khazar a little bit, and the one from Skull Crusher, which is done with the swap of a shield and a weapon only, I can fix this. It is a little bit annoying that I have to change this gear for specifically the Spirit Affinity and not all the other dungeons, but still, it's as simple as that. So a huge shout out to Mad Capper, because he helped me figure this out, and I took a little bit of fine tuning, but we got it to work. Now here I'm gonna cleanse the decreased speed. All right, so now we should technically still be like on the correct rotation with the boss, because remember, I'm too slow for this boss, so I have to maintain my speeds. this decreased speed would be too much. I would fall out of sync. It wouldn't be as much as an issue against the Nightmare, but here it is. Then we go for Flesh Warp right there. Now we see that the Occult Brawler already used the Curse Eater. And now finally, we still skip the counter attack from the Martyr. Really important here. We want to wait for that stun, which it goes on my Skull Crusher. Okay, so I'm protecting my Battle Khazar with this guy. Also, this guy will go unkillable, which means he can somewhat tank this a little bit more because he's the weak affinity. Then we go for A1 with the Battle Khazar. We do cleanse that stun from the passive from Skull Crusher, but it doesn't reset the cooldown of his counterattack. But again, I don't care about his counterattack. I care about the one from Martyr. So then we use this one right there. We go into just a regular hit from the Padma. Still one more turn on the Curse Eater from that Occult Brawler. And then finally here, turn number 3. This is where we align ourselves with the counterattack from the Martyr. Then it's sort of like in rotation now. Everything is set up. I can now press auto. Okay, so as simple or as complicated as that. Look at it however you want. It does take a little bit of understanding how everything works, but every boss is also a little bit different. On the Nightmare, you obviously set this up differently as well because you're taking a turn first, right? Now we're gonna watch this one more time. We're gonna watch that cleanse. There we go, boom, no more decreased speed. We do have another counterattack there from Skull Crusher. It's overlapping with the one from Martyr, but we kind of don't care. Again, the one from Martyr is the one we really care about. All right, all that being said, now let's look at the other affinities while this runs in the background, and I'll explain exactly what's different about all of them. So number 1, here's my best ever run on the Void affinity. We have the Battle Khazar in the lead. I explained this many times before. Your leader does not necessarily always get the hit first. In this case, it is always my Skull Crusher. My Skull Crusher is being targeted. This has to do with the amount of buffs. It doesn't even have to do with necessarily the amount of max HP. This guy has more HP than Battle Khazar, okay? It's really just a defense-based champion, I guess, in the grid position 1. And then if he doesn't have any buffs, if I'm not mistaken, he's going to go for this champion first. Also, you want to set your Rosin Scarhide to be, and I'll show the gear a little bit after, to be relatively fast enough. In this case, he's faster than my Battle Khazar because that's going to prevent him from using the A3. And you're going to get a little bit more damage from this, okay? So this is the usual team that I run for Void. We have the one for the Force affinity, which is exactly the same thing. As simple as that. There's nothing else to do. I set it up the same way. Pretty simple. That is what I like. Again, very, very easy to work with. Then we have one with the Ultra Nightmare for Magic affinity. Here I simply swap out my Occult Brawler for a Bulwark. This could be a Frozen Banshee, but I have too many undeads built on my account. I've said this before, so I need the Bulwark for the Faction Wars for Dwarfs. So I'd rather use this guy, which is geared as is and works for Faction Wars, and then not have to gear a 6th undead champion, which is going to be a little bit useless for Faction Wars. Again, trying to save as much gear as possible. Here it is a little bit different in the sense that Bulwark is going to be taking a hit. Why? Because he is not a weak affinity. All the Force champions are a strong affinity, so he's the lowest HP of the bunch, but it still doesn't matter because the boss would not go for an adversary of strong affinity, or else he would get weak hits. So he goes for the Bulwark, and that extends the poisons from the Battle Khazar, which is why I'm still able to deal a good amount of damage. But you can see Battle Khazar here dealing way more damage than the other affinities. And finally, then we have the Spirit affinity, which is the one you saw right now. And here's my new record, which I got this morning. And it's sort of why I'm doing this video, is because I finally reached the range of a 3-key Ultra Nightmare on the Spirit affinity with the same roster of champions. But I do have to bring in the Martyr for this one because of what I just explained, okay? So I need to use the Skull Crusher for the guy to take the stun. I need to use the Battle Khazar to clear the decreased speed, not the stun. And then we need the Martyr to have the proper counterattack rotation set up. I do lose my Rosin here, right? But Rosin and Martyr sort of are filling the same role in the sense that they bring the decreased defense. I don't get weakened with the Martyr, but I do get increased defense, which will somewhat compensate for the damage potential of Rosin. I also put the Aura there because if I would put Battle Khazar in the lead, then he would be targeted first. the boss would go for this because it's his strong, like he would have the strong affinity against this champion, and he would not go for the Skull Crusher. So you need to understand exactly how the clan boss is going to target your champions, and it took a little bit of time to properly set this up, but I've been running this for, I'm gonna say 4 or 5 months now, if not more, maybe even 6, and like I just got the Spirit Affinity to work properly, and it was literally down to about 8 speed on this guy and 3 speed on that guy. That's all it was all this time, and like my previous runs were like, let me scroll back, you guys will see what I mean. 13 million damage. Oh, this one is a little bit different. But here, I had tried something different. Here's bad because the Battle Khazar is in the lead, so you obviously don't want to do that. But here's the setup when I finally had the correct order on my champions or on the grid position, but I still did not have the proper speed on those champions. So it would always end short. And I kept trying to understand why, because they were falling out of sync. It turns out it really only has to do with the speed. And here are a couple of more runs that I did on the Spirit Affinity so far. Okay, so it's not always 26 million, it's not always 31 million, certainly not always 27 million here either, but it's just an overview of sort of what my roster can accomplish. All right, so now I'm going to, I think, edit this right here. Actually, we're pretty much almost done. We're gonna finish watching this, see where it ends. We're going on 9 minutes, a little bit more, but I did talk a lot in the beginning, so it's obviously a longer run because of that. And then we're gonna go over all of these champions for you guys, because you obviously want to see how everybody is geared, the speed, the amount of defense, and yes, the Great Hall does affect the stats, right? You have to factor this in, but hey, I'm a little bit more end game, so it's understandable that a lot of my stats or the boost to my champions comes from the Great Hall. I also showed you guys in this spreadsheet right here sort of like the quality of the gear on my account. It's the same thing. My clan boss champions are not all dressed in legendary 5-star or 6-star pieces, not even 6-star epic pieces, right? The bulk of my gear is 5-star rare, 6-star rare, and then 5-star epic. Actually, the bulk of it being a 5-star. So like I still have a long way to go on how to improve this roster, and eventually there's one more champion which I keep dreaming about. It is Sepulchre Sentinel, because Sepulchre Sentinel is going to allow me to combine 2 roles into one and free up a champion slot, and then I could use the Allies Join Attack on top of this with Kreela Witch Arm, and I'm pretty certain I would reach the 2 key Ultra Nightmare range, and I think that's pretty decent, right? Anyway, okay, so we're done. Sorry about that. 24 million total damage on the Spirit Affinity with this boss right here. All right, so champions, pretty straightforward. Let's start with the first one. Let's do Rosin. So Rosin is geared this way because I also use him in Tag Arena. I have a Stalwart. I was thinking he's going to survive a little bit longer in Tag Arena because those big AoE hits on my slow tanky team, even though I have 3 shield sets, I can get destroyed by a really good blender build, right? So I thought this would help out. I also tried to give him a decent amount of resistance, but to be honest, I would not do this again. I would go back to lifesteal. I would make sure I have more accuracy, 220 or plus, regardless of the resistance. Maybe because now I have Lydia and I'm going to try and work with her a little bit more. But anyway, total stats, 4.3k defense, 181 speed. Again, faster than my Battle Khazar, 73% crit rate. Don't forget I have 25% from Battle Khazar's aura. Then we have 200% crit damage. It's decent, right? But again, like the gear, you can kind of see that it's not, you know, legendary stuff. We have only 5-star crit damage amulet. We do have 6-star crit damage gloves. Defense percent. Skills are all done. Masteries, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. It could be offense and defense as well. But I do like Master Hexer on this guy because I think that in the long run maybe brings a little bit more damage. The next one is our Battle Khazar, which is also not that impressive, but also in Stalwart. Okay, so this guy has crit damage gloves. I know it might sound a little bit crazy. I could do defense percent here, but he does not die first. He never dies first with this. We have a 6-star defense chest, speed boots, defense, accuracy right here. All the skills are done on this guy. Masteries, here they are. We have War Master into the support tree. This could maybe be optimized a little bit. If you guys have a better build for masteries for me, do let me know. So for total stats on this guy, we have 42k HP, 3.3k defense, but in stalwart, 183 speed right now, because it's the Spirit Affinity. If it would not be the Spirit Affinity, what I do is I take this shield, I go in here, and then I have another one that's for him, reserved specifically for him, and it is this shield right here, and that drops me by 8 speed, and then that is good for all the other affinities, the Void Boss, right? So this is how I manage to swap back and forth between being properly tuned for Spirit and then all the other ones, okay? Then we have the next one would be our Martyr. She has better gear-ish overall, right? Crit damage gloves right here. We have crit damage amulet, defense percent, flat defense. We have accuracy banner. Total stats on this one is 35k HP, 4.4k defense, 173 speed, 88% crit rate, which may be a little bit too high if you have Battle Khazar in the lead. But remember, I only run her on the Spirit Affinity and she's in the lead. So I lose that extra 25% crit rate. Therefore, I want this champion to be as high as possible so she deals even more damage, right? 217% crit damage, 233 accuracy. All of the skills are done. Masteries, we have the typical offense, defense, counterattack build. Okay, this is nothing new. You've seen this plenty of times before. Then let's keep going down the list. We're gonna have our Padma. She's been geared like this for a very long time, but she's also rocking crit damage gloves. Okay, so you'll kind of notice that about my champions. You squeeze out more damage from them if you manage to work with crit damage gloves. Okay, so we have defense percent chest, defense percent boots. Again, crit damage amulet, which really needs to be maxed out now. Accuracy banner, total stats, we're looking at 174 speed. So again, tuned for Nightmare, 33k HP, 4.3k defense, 78% crit rate, plus the 25% from Battle Khazar, 191% crit damage. This could be a little bit higher, 217 accuracy. All the skills are done, pretty straightforward. And then the same counterattack build for the masteries, right? After that, we're gonna have the Occult Brawler or the Skull Crusher first. Let's do Skull Crusher. Masteries are the same for this guy, okay? It's pretty easy at this point. All the skills are done as well. We have lifesteal as well, but on this guy we also have 2-piece defense. But he has defense percent gloves, defense percent chest, and defense percent boots. He has a defense amulet, defense ring, and an HP banner. This could be defense as well. I just didn't have one that had the right amount of speed for what I wanted to do. So he's sitting at 48k HP. Higher than the Battle Khazar, remember, but he's still taking a hit. Okay, so it doesn't only have to do with HP. We have a 5.1k defense, 174 speed, 65% crit rate, a little bit low, and 100% crit damage, also kind of low, but this guy is not there to deal damage. It is nice that he does deal some damage. If we go back to like some of the void results here, like he can deal 2 million damage. It's not a whole lot, but like, you know, it is a portion of that damage. So if you can increase even more crit damage on this guy, go for it, right? Anyway, so that is enough for the Skull Crusher. Then we're gonna do the Occult Brawler. This guy is also in sort of like not exactly counterattack. We have the same for offense, but different for support, because we do want to increase our chances of placing the poison debuffs and extending them, right? All the skills are done on this guy as well. As I said, this keeps everything in check or in order. Some people say to not max out this skill. You know what? I just didn't get lucky. So before this one was maxed out, this one ended up being maxed out. So hey, it is what it is. This guy has some pretty interesting gear, right? A lot of legendary pieces, probably one of the better built champions on my account, but that's because I've been trying to boost his offensive stats while also keeping his defensive stats pretty high as well, okay? So we have an attack percent chest, defense percent gloves, defense percent boots, defense, defense, defense. So I was able to work a good amount of accuracy on the gear itself, not using the accuracy banner. So that is pretty huge. So a little tip there for you guys. Total stats on this one is 41k HP. We have 3.5k defense, 174 speed, 65% crit rate, and only 122% crit damage. So imagine this guy with like 200% crit damage and 75% crit rate with these stats. that would be next level, but I'm not convinced I can hit those stats with the gear I have on my account. Final one to cover before I let you guys go is gonna be the Bulwark. So Bulwark, again, geared for Faction Wars, and this only comes into play for the Magic Affinity. This guy is rocking defense % gloves. You do want him to be tanky because when you put him in, he's taking the hits. He's taking those stunts, so that's important. So you kind of want to build him down the lines of your Skull Crusher. Defense % chest. We have speed boots on this guy. I haven't been able, to reach the right amount of speed with defense % boots, and then maybe I could change to like crit damage gloves. But again, I don't use him a whole lot, so I thought good enough. Defense ring, only 4 stars, sadly. Defense amulet, which needs to be maxed out. Accuracy banner, which is not needed. Like, I have too much already. If anything, I would have to try and build him a little bit like Occult Brawler, and maybe get like a defense banner on this guy instead. Okay, all the skills are done, which is pretty easy to do. We have the typical counter attack build, and then for his total stats, which I think I skipped, is 32k HP, 4.4k defense, 173 speed, 53% crit rate, and 109% crit damage. So guys, there you have it, my complete roster for my, I'm gonna say, very simple clan boss needs. 3 key Ultra Nightmare, 1 key Nightmare, as simple as that. Okay, so I can free up more gear for other champions. Here's the great haul, so you guys understand obviously how this is affecting my stats. So guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm sorry this one was a long one. I tried to slow it down for you guys. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Join me on stream, and I'm gladly going to go over all of this information with you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you later.